Hi, my name is Adrian Reed and I'm here at the BA Conference Europe 2019 and I'm really pleased that I'm here with Debra Paul. Debra Paul is a name that I'm sure many of us will know in the BA community, prolific author of books such as the BCS book on business analysis called, of course, Business Analysis, the Business Analysis and Agile book, The Human Touch, and more recently the BA Service Manual. So a very celebrated author and well-known celebrity in our community, shall we say.
Oh dear.
Debbie, it's really interesting being at conferences like this because clearly we're in a profession that is progressing and there are always lots of talk or lots of discussions about what's next.
Yes.
How do you see our profession progressing?
Interestingly, I think we have a very, very broad area that we cover. And I think it's going to be even broader in the future, but I think it's also going to deepen because I think there were a number of years where we were very, very focused on process. I think there was a lot of process work, but actually people started talking about, well, what are the benefits? What are the benefits to the organisation? And then there was a real movement around benefits planning, benefits management. I think that argument has slightly shifted again a little bit to say, okay, if we're a business analysis profession, what outcomes are we helping organisations to achieve? And that broadens it out slightly from purely benefits. Because while we can categorise benefits into tangible and intangible, if we think a little bit broader than that, and we think of maybe this service view, then actually we can start talking about, well, business outcomes, is that also customer outcomes?
Yes.
And I think that's where it moves into business analysts understanding the customer experience that they're helping their organisation deliver. And to a certain extent, we've got two levels because we have our internal customers who we need to collaborate with. You know, we need to co-create valuable outcomes with them for the business. So we have to make sure that we focus on their experience of working with us, but also enabling them to enable a fabulous customer experience for the end customer too. So I think that development is taking us from the, well, we need to save money, you know, reduce costs, we need to have some sort of better benefits in terms of faster ways of working. And now we're into, well, hang on, what does that actually mean? What does that deliver for the organisation? So that's where I think we've got that breadth and depth coming in.
That's really interesting because as you were saying that, I mean, as you know, I think in pictures.
Yes.
And I was thinking of like a sort of systems diagram with subsystems, and actually you've got the internal users, but then you've got actually the bigger ecosystem around it. And to pick up on a word that you've said there, because it's a word which seems to resonate at conferences like this, which is the question of value.
Yes.
And of course, in the Agile space, there'll be a lot of focus on business value. In the CX space, there'll be focus on customer value. So an open question, value, what does it mean to you?
Value the world. It's really interesting. I hear the word value thrown around liberally in our industry and in our profession. And I always ask myself, does it actually mean anything within the context that it's being used? Because if I say, Adrian, I'm about to deliver value to you, okay?
A wheelbarrow full of.
I'd expect you to say, I'll be the judge of what's value, because do you really know what I value? Because I may value all sorts of different things, but you can't deliver it to me.
Yes.
And I think we need to stop talking about delivering value early. No, we have to work with customers, whether internal or external, to find out what is it value looks like.
Yes.
You know, what's their reality with value? And we've got to understand that value can only be co-created. And we can work with people to understand what they deem value. We can understand, therefore, what needs to be delivered.
Yes.
But we also need to work with them to understand how they realise that value. Because I could give you a wheelbarrow of money, okay?
Please do.
And you could lose it.
Yes, that's quite
At
likely.
which point, and I know you very well, Adrian, at which point, how much value did you get, unless you happen to like losing wheelbarrows of money, in which case you had the value from that. But do you see what I mean?
I do, and I remember reading, and I can't remember the author or the book, but I remember reading something which really resonated on, which was money isn't utility, money buys utility.
Yes.
And maybe it's sort of like that. Well, actually, what is value? It's the utility that someone actually gets out of whatever, or the warm, fuzzy feeling that they get, or whatever. So it's interesting. So there's the question of sort of value and co-creation. So what do you think? I mean, as BAs, if you were a junior, a senior, whatever type of BA, if there was a skill, a technique, an idea, a concept that you think, right, this is one thing you should be focusing on right now, what would that one thing be?
Oh, one
I know,
thing.
it's very unfortunate. You can have more than one if you want.
Can I have more than one?
Yeah.
Okay. I think, first of all, understand business outcomes, okay? Understand customer experience, understand that service view, and understand all you can ever do is propose value. You cannot deliver it.
Like a hypothesis of value that's experimented and tested.
And it's sort of saying, this is what I think is valuable.
Yes.
But there's also a moment where you have to say, is that valuable to you? But understand that. And can I do three things?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as one of them's systems thinking. I'm only joking.
I actually have to say, I think the whole service view of the world is completely in line with systems thinking.
Absolutely.
And I really believe that systems thinking, I mean, you know, you and I have talked about it for years. I just think it's such a valuable way of understanding the world.
Well, and to interject, but if you think about different perspectives on value, you start to get back to a sort of slightly Czechlandian view of the world. So,
exactly. and understanding that, you know, there's not one customer that looks in a particular way with one persona.
Yes.
So, you know, perspectives on value, you have a huge picture to consider there. So all of that, I think, is very, very important. My second strand is data. I have always believed in data. I started as somebody working as a systems analyst using data-driven approaches. So to me, data is fundamental, and it always has been. And I believe as business analysts, we have to up our skill set in the data area, because I don't think enough people have really quite taken it on board yet.
Absolutely.
And we then have to extend it into understanding a bit about the analytics process.
Yes.
Because if we, again, are going to understand customer experience, say, we have to understand what the data's telling us, not just how we collect and structure it.
And it's interesting because I saw Laurie Silverman present at the BA Summit South Africa, and I mean there was a number of things I took away from her keynote, but one is just because something is interesting doesn't mean it's insight.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so you can collect data on lots of things, but so what? Like the so what factor.
Yes.
So maybe we're also the people who ask so what.
It's interesting actually, when I was writing so many of the books, and I worked with some fantastic co-authors, that was always the thing we kept in mind. Whatever you write, please ask yourself, so what? Because if you can't answer that question from what you've written, you haven't written anything worthwhile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and data is like that. And I do think as business analysts, we have to understand data better, and we have to really be confident in understanding it, and confident in talking to data scientists and in talking to business managers and explaining what the data is actually telling us.
Yes.
So that to me is a huge area for us. The third area, and one again that I think we maybe have shied away from a little bit, is actually technology.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's almost because in some organisations that's been the route. We've tried to distance ourselves from it. So no, we're not just the tech.
Yes.
But maybe we've distanced ourselves a bit too far.
Yes, I think we have. I think we've actually become the I don't do technology. That isn't going to work now. And actually, we can offer so much. I mean, in all sorts of different ways. If you think of business rules.
Yes.
Okay? If we are trying to use technology to do certain things, we have to understand the rules underneath it, and we have to understand what the technology can offer. And, you know, technology is accelerating in its development, and we have to get on board. And we have to get on board very quickly. So, and we talk about the digital BA, don't we? I like to think of the BA.
Yes, I think you and I agree on that one. I mean, it's curious. I can't remember who I was having a conversation with. I was having a conversation with someone a while back about this whole digital BA, and I was saying, but everything we've worked on has a digital element
Exactly.
somewhere. It might not, but digital has sort of become and actually, yeah, it's interesting. It may be a lens. It might be a lens, but and draws on slightly different skill set, but the core is still there.
I think so, and it's interesting because I've talked to some organisations where they have set up a separate team of digital BAs, and somebody said to me, but they seem to be systems analysts.
Oh, right.
Or technical
wow. Okay.
BAs, as we sometimes call them, and you think that shouldn't really be what that is about, because to me, digital is about customer experience and personalisation and understanding the possibilities. But it's also about understanding data. It sort of pulls it all together, really, and understanding what technology is doing and what the developments are enabling us to do to provide business outcomes. And we're back then to hopefully co-creating value.
Yeah.
So all of these things need to come together. But yeah, it is interesting because we had quite a long discussion about this at the BA Manager Forum and the different takes on what digital BA actually means. And my colleague Jonathan Hunsley actually presented what's called the digital onion, which he
Fantastic.
showed on Monday at this conference. And it looks at, if you are a digital BA, you have to understand systems thinking, you have to understand service thinking, you have to understand customer experience, data analysis and data analytics, and you have to understand that technology can pull all that together to do something brilliant.
Yeah.
That's where I think business analysis needs to go.
Fantastic. Well, there we go. That gives us all something to aspire to. And well, thank you for taking the time to have a chat today, Debbie.
No problem.
Now I know, so obviously, as well as being the author of many books, you are managing director of Assist Knowledge Development, and there's a whole bunch of resources on the website. How do people get to those resources?
They go to our website and they click on the Learning Zone. And what we've always tried to do, because you know, Adrian, business analysis to me is so important.
Me too.
Tanya Gray-Thompson was here yesterday as our keynote, and she was a super keynote and a super lady. And I was talking to her about analysis because some of the work that she's doing, I was saying, you know, it's actually about understanding the problem, thinking about it, and then looking at the different options. And, you know, we had a great conversation. And that's probably why I'm so passionate about it, because it is that problem solving. So in the Learning Zone, we post blogs, articles. If we do presentations at conference or seminars, we post them on there. So there's all sorts of resources. We've got one area called Free Learning, which was a name I made up, and none of my colleagues think is funny, but it entertains me.
I think it works really well.
Thank you, Adrian. But you know, we've got sort of little free learning. One is on BPMN, which I think is an excellent piece of free learning. So all those resources are there, and they're just for anybody to access, really.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again. Thanks for your time, Debbie. And
Lovely to talk to you.
As always. And if you are watching this, do be sure to check out the Assist KD website. So thanks again.
Thank you, Adrian.